The scene starts with Brandy talking to the bottom two, which is Samson and Swayze. So Tommy interrupts and says he's going to do the choosing and on who's going to go home. So Tommy sends LJ home for not showing up to the getaway. He says if you're not showing up to the getaway, that means you're not ready to love. So Tommy wishes LJ well, and Swayze and Samson are safe. So Sampson says he believes if LJ came, Brandy would have eliminated him, so he dodged the bullet. I don't know why he think Brandy had it out for him, but okay. So Brandy asked Mike, how she did because she was the one to have the, to possibly let the men down, and he, because she was so nervous and stuff. And Mike encourages her and says she did a good job. And so Brandy says in her confessional, she feels like if they all took off work to attend the getaway, then LJ could have too. I mean, I don't know. It could have been something that was previously, because it seems like it was a conference. So maybe he couldn't get out of it because that is his livelihood. But I mean, okay, I guess LJ was the easiest one. And of course, we know that debacle of a date with his ex-girlfriend who's still in love with him. And I believe they was looking for a sister wife, basically. So yeah, LJ wasn't ready to love. And so that pretty much put Trinika in a, she's in a tailspin at this point because LJ was her strongest connection. And the only other connection was Randall. And she was probably in third place with Randall. So, basically Trinika is not feeling too good about it. So she's sad that he's gone. So she sits away from the group and just kind of regroups in her mind. She's probably thinking of a master plan on how she could stay, on the show and continue on with the process. So the cast take a shot for LJ. And Tommy walks in to let them know that the men now have the power to eliminate. And they are going to play a dating game. So Katie says she feels confident about the dating game because she knows a lot about Swayze. We shall see. And she also says that she could see them hosting parties and doing stuff like that. Now, I did notice in this getaway that they did have a lot of fun together. They seem to really have a lot of chemistry, things that we didn't really get to see before. And they just seem like they're a cute little couple so far. So Jamila says, she's scared because she's been drinking and she thinks she's going to do well because she knows Randall really well. We'll see, girl. So the ladies had to pick the men that they wanted to play the dating game with. So Tommy starts with Kayla, asking her who she's going to choose. I thought maybe she would have chose Randall. She chose Mike. So she's going to play the dating game with Mike. And then Tommy asks Brandy. Brandy, of course, says Mike. So Swayze is in the background making jokes, talking about you a lucky man, Mike. So and Mike says he can't wait to see what happens between Kayla and Brandy. He says he welcomes it, but Mike is a little low-key messy anyway. So Tommy goes to Jamila and asks who, and she chooses Ra. She's always trying to make it known that she got a nickname for Randall. So Jamila chooses Randall. Katie chooses Swayze, of course. Sharice chooses Samson. Trinika chooses Randall. She had no choice because LJ wasn't there anymore. And so the rules are if they get it wrong, then they're out. And if they get it right, they move forward. So Tommy asks Swayze, does he want to have a big family or would he rather have a big bank account? So Katie says, big bank account. And of course, she got it wrong because Swayze said big family. And she didn't even believe Swayze when he said get big family. But I think, Katie, and I think that's maybe what you want, the big bank account, not Swayze. So, yeah, you didn't think about maybe what Swayze wants. You thought you were thinking about, oh, he's going to choose what I want. Maybe she didn't get the game. So Tommy goes to Trinika, Randall, and Jamala, and he asks them romance or Netflix and chill. So Trinika says romance, Jamila says Netflix and chill. Randall chooses romance. So Jamila is out. I thought you knew Ra. I thought you knew Ra, but I mean, I probably would have chose Netflix and chill for Randall as well because he just seems like the type that like to sit around and watch movies. He seems like a cheap date, in my opinion. No offense, Randall. So the next question was at Tommy asked Trinika, how many serious girlfriends Randall has. And Trinika says she gets it right. I think it was like 3 or more. And so Trinika is answering these questions about Randall correctly. And she says she's not surprised because they have a lot of deep conversations. And we kind of saw a little bit during the getaway that, Randall seems to open up around Trinika. And so I mean, I guess they are having conversations. Trinika know how to get into that mind, honey. She likes to be a little bit more intimate with her conversations. And I don't know, Jamila is probably more so talking about herself when they talk. I don't see her and Randall getting into any deep conversations. So Tommy asks Sharice, what kind of movies does Samson like? And Sharice answers correctly and says action movies. Tommy asks Mike how long before moving in. So Brandy says, I think within 6 months. And then Kayla says, a year or more. Kayla gets it right. Ding, ding, ding. Kayla gets it right. So Brandy got egg on her face. And so she's out. So Tommy asked Trinika, what Randall's ideal vacation. She ends up getting it wrong. And because he says he would rather go camping. Like, I guess. I guess Randall, ain't too many black girls gonna want to go camping. Maybe glamping, but not camping. So I hope you mean glamping. So Tommy asked Kayla, would Mike split the bill or pay for it? Pay for the whole meal. Of course. I mean, I could have answered that. He better pay for the whole meal. So she gets it right when she says pay for the whole meal. So Tommy asks Sharice's what is Samson's shoe size, and she says 11, and it's a 13. So okay, Samson with a 13, got a big old feet. I wonder how tall Samson is. So Tommy asked Kayla what college did Big Mike attend, and she said UM. She wasn't really sure, and it comes out that Mike did not. So it was kind of like a trick question. He did not attend college. So Tommy says that because Trinika and Kayla got the most right, they had to have a tiebreaker. So Brandy says she didn't like it. Of course you don't like it, Brandy, because you and Mike are supposed to be that couple. You shouldn't. It should be between you and Mike and Jamila and Randall, because y'all are the strongest connections, right? So Kayla says it shows that she and Brandy is Kayla feels like her getting those questions right. It showed Brandy that they actually do have a connection and they actually do talk. And I think that Brandy was a little bit rattled by that. I don't think she was expecting Kayla to come out and get some of those answers right about Mike. I think Mike has been downplaying his relationship with Kayla the entire time. And Brandy, I'm thinking, is taking Mike for his word and knows that it had this and thinking that they are not what they are. But I don't know why Mike likes to treat Kayla like a dirty little secret. Like, it's annoying. I don't even know how Kayla sits there and deals with it. So Tommy asks Randall if he's a thigh man or a breast man. And of course, Trinika, who does not like to wear bras, clearly, she jiggles her breast and says he likes these. And Randall is definitely, he says he's a breast man. Okay, so Jamila is kind of looking like, okay, because she don't have much like up there to jiggle, but I guess she got a handful, so she said I got stuff that I can still work with. So Tommy asked Kayla what is my zodiac sign, and he's a Pisces, which makes perfect sense because Pisces, is the fish, so they'll run away from a commitment and stuff. So Pisces men are known to run away from commitment. So I'm not sure that Brandy, you need to stake your flag in what Mike got going on. I think Mike is out to have fun. So Brandy is annoyed and tell them, hurry up, hurry up. So she's playing, but I think she got a little bit of seriousness in it. So Jamila is also looking annoyed. So so Tommy asked Trinika what's Randall's favorite drink, and she says old fashioned, and she is correct. Ding, ding, ding. And so Tommy goes to Kayla and said, what's Mike's favorite ice cream? And she says chocolate, and she's wrong. And she's wrong. It's vanilla. So Brandy can breathe a sigh of relief, but Jamila now has to come to the realization that Trinika knows her rah-rah a little bit better than she does. So Jamila says in her confessional she wishes she would have won the date because they're gonna go on a little getaway from the getaway. So Jamila is a little salty because she said I could, I like to look forward to having that one-on-one time with Randall. And so she says, she hates to be in this whole semicircle. Girl, that's Randall's fault. Randall needs to whittle these ladies down, and he's so scared of making a decision. He's just gonna keep stringing everybody along till somebody eventually get tired, and he gonna go with the one who who can hang on the longest. But it couldn't be me. So when Randall and Trinika win the date, Randall says he is concerned about how Jamila is feeling. So clearly he has a stronger connection with Jamila because he's wondering how she's feeling about the whole situation. So Mike tells Kayla that he's talking to Kayla and Brandy's over there too. He said you chose chocolate because that's your favorite ice cream flavor. Brandy, I don't know if you caught that, but he knows Kayla's favorite ice cream. And so they definitely talk. That should have sent like, okay, I hear that y'all talking. You know each other favorite ice. Well, you know her favorite ice cream. So clearly y'all have had some conversations, some deep conversations that I may not be privy to. So, but okay, and if I were Brandy, I would play it cool too because I'm not going to be like a Jamila wearing my heart on my sleeve in this type of process. Just play it cool and just kind of keep your eyes open and your ears open. Like let me make sure that Mike is doing exactly what he says he's doing. Anything that don't seem right, Brandy, girl. So Kayla wishes she would have won the date so she can get some alone time with Mike. And she feels like the date with Randall and Trinika is just a waste because everybody knows they have the least connection in the house. I don't know. Randall been crying when she talks about certain situations, so that's somewhat of a connection. I don't see him crying about nothing about you. So I mean, who's to say? So Randall and Trinika arrive to their date, and there's a woman who is clearly going to do some like energy work because I see sound bowls and she got feathers and sage and all types of stuff out there. So, people, this is a network named after a Black woman. So I kind of consider this a Black network. Majority of the shows on there are Blacks. I need y'all to find some Black energy workers, number one, because we're out there. We are out there doing energy work. So, on producers and my funky Geneva voice, on producers, please look for some Black energy workers because old girl was, using feathers and using sage to cleanse Randall and Trinika. And I'm gonna put y'all on a little bit of game as far as sage. Sage, yes, does get spirits away, but it also takes away good spirits and bad spirits. So it's like a bug repellent for spirits altogether. So you're doing sage all around the house. There's no spirits in your house if you're doing that because it's like a bug repellent to any type of a spirit. So she removed all the spirits away from Trinika and Randall, but she didn't call nothing back in. I didn't see her call nothing in. And I didn't see her using like, I would have thought maybe more rose quartz and stuff to, deepen the bond. Rose quartz usually is a good love crystal. I'm telling you, own people. There are some African spirituality energy workers. There's Black energy workers that could definitely had use this spotlight to, help their businesses, because in all honesty, you don't hear about a lot of us out there. Usually, you see a lot of Latino women, you see a lot of white women, maybe even Native Americans, but you don't see a lot of Black women holding that space. And that's one of the things when I got certified and stuff like that. These were all, either Latina women. I was probably the only little Black girl in the class, and it's hard because you don't see any of you, so you go out and try to find your tribe, and link up with other Black energy workers, because when you come to a Black energy worker, it's a little bit different. It's like going to a Black doctor. Some of the traumas that we go through, because we all go through it as a culture. But I'm going to get off my little soapbox on that. Maybe that's for another video. But yes, I wasn't feeling that she cleansed them with sage and told them to bring it into their heart space, and that she didn't call the ancestors to come back to the ancestors of love, light, for their highest good, to come back to sit in this whole space. Maybe she did and they didn't show it, but that's very, very, very important, that instead of using sage, she probably should have used Palo Santo. So moving on, Randall says, this is not his type of date, but he wants to experience what Trinika's into. So Trinika asked Randall how he felt about her getting the answers correct, and he said he wasn't surprised because they talk a lot. They talk a lot about that kind of stuff. So he wasn't surprised. So Trinika tells Randall, you really don't express yourself to me, how you feel about me. You don't really express that to me. And so Trinika is very intuitive. She knows for the most part. That's why LJ was most of her connection, even though LJ probably is a little problematic. He at least was making more of an effort. So the energy worker decides for them to do a eye gazing meditation where they look into each other's eyes. And as she uses the sound bowls and she does her little singing and whatnot. So they're looking into each other's eyes, and after it's over, and Trinika is rubbing on Randall's feet. So she's better than me. I'm not really a feet girl, so she's definitely all into it, and Randall seems like he was kind of into it. So after it was all over, Trinika said that she could tell when he was getting disconnected, so that's why she did the massage of the feet to kind of bring him back to their connection. So, and I think that's indicative of their whole relationship. Like he can't keep a connection with you because his mind is going other places, to Jamla, to Kayla, things like that. So Trinika says she could feel when they were connected and disconnected. So I said that. So Brandy and Mike are all hugged up. So they're in the kitchen. Brandy and Mike is hugged up. They're doing it, cooking together. And all the other couples are, hanging around each other. And poor Kayla, she was singing in the background. She was in the background, and she looked really sad and really lonely. And I really felt I just really felt bad, bad for her, because Brandy does bring up that Kayla has, two connections, but she's number 2 in both of those connections. So I really feel bad for her in that instance, because she really likes Mike. That's hand down. She really likes Mike, but Randall is, someone that she knows that could be a possibility, but Randall can't make no decisions. So, so Kayla says she feels like Mike and Randall are hypocrites for not checking on her and seeing how she's doing, or even just to say good night. Yeah, that's kind of bad. I feel bad for Kayla. She was like, they just don't care. Sometimes you got to call a thing, and sometimes you got to choose yourself at the end. I'm like, Kayla, what are you still here for if you're feeling like this? So Samson asked Randall, his take on the date. And Randall says, it was super intimate and he loved it. Jamila says she's in her confessional saying she's just gonna roll with the punches, child. So Sharice and Samson the next day are in the kitchen, look like they're cutting up some fruit and stuff. And she says, she was nervous when he was on the chopping block. And so Samson said that, he knows how he got there. He says, when someone likes you and and they're not being patient, um, they feel like they're not that he's not interested in them. Just say Brandy, Mike. I mean Samson. Just say Brandy. You feel like Brandy put you on a chopping block, but it had to be more than Brandy. Samson, you are on the bottom. There's 5 girls there, so you had to be in more than one person's bottom, and you're not being vulnerable. You still have this used car salesman representative. Nobody knows who you really are, Samson, and it's becoming to a point where it's like, why you here? My light went out. So that's where we are at this point. So let's see. So Cherie says she can't tell if Samson is into her or is he just going through the motions. She feels that they still have a lot of work to do. And I totally agree with you, Cherise. Jamila and Randall sits down outside and Randall tells her that they have a lot to do. And he realizes that he needs to reassure her more and on how he feels, but realizes, he still has other connections as well. So Jamila says, she tells him, look, I'm not made of iron. And Randall says, I'm still here. And she said, well, are you here for who? And he said, for you. So are you telling the other connections that you're here for me? And so, Jamila reminds him, like, you have 3 other strong connections. And if they should know who you're here for if you're saying that you're here for me. So Jamila is telling him he needs to be direct, and she isn't going to do it for him. And if she needs to, she will remove herself from the situation. So, no, you ain't, Jamila. You ain't going nowhere. So Mike and Brandy are packing to leave, and she says they have to do this again. And Mike agrees and say, we should do this again. So Brandy says that Kayla says she's so Brandy's in her confessional. She said, Kayla is saying that Mike. Hold on, y'all. I gotta get the light. So she's saying that Mike and Kayla have an understanding, and so she's basically like, well, just keep it at the understanding. Hold on, y'all. Let me just. All right. So like I said, Brandy is saying that Kayla and Mike just need to keep it at an understanding, and that's it. So Trinika is saying as she's leaving, her and Randall's connection is still a question mark in her head because Randall can't be direct with nobody. He can't make no decisions. So Kayla says she's frustrated and feels like she wasted her time, and you did, because none of her connections tried to connect with her, and they did not. That says a lot. I mean, it's like it's screaming it without saying, without having to say it, they're saying it. So Randall walks Jamila to her car and kisses her. And so Kayla's just sitting there looking like, okay, I see. And so as Brandy leaves, Mike has to, Brandy, goes off in her car. And so Mike has to come up to Kayla and say, I know I had to feel uncomfortable. I still want to explore my connection with you. At that point, I would let Mike have it. Why you got to wait till Brandy leave for you to say something to me? And you know how I was feeling. And now you say, oh, you want to still work on it? Boy, bye. I would have said, boy, bye. So, Samson goes to Sharice's med spa the next day and gets a facial. So her med spa looks really nice. So if you're in the Miami area, you should definitely look up Sharice's med spa. I think it's Logan Skincare, and they got good Google reviews because me, being nosy, I looked it up. She got 5 stars. So that's something. So Sharice is looking for Samson to open up. He says he feels like he's due for a good cry, and the last time he cried was when his dog died. And so Sharice, asks him, "Are you afraid to be vulnerable?" And he says, "No, I think you are. It's something there." Because Samson doesn't go deep for nobody. And he wants people to be patient, be patient, be patient. And it's okay, I get being patient, but you got to give a little. You don't give much. And it's just like, at this point, I need to know a little bit more on, I need a little bit more information on who you are. So I know if you are somebody that I want to be with in the long run. So Cherie says she wants to be a positive piece in his life, but he needs to open up more. And so Samson immediately gets defensive, and Sharice wants to get closer than just the surface. And I feel you, Sharice. Like, if I'm feeling you, I'm wanting to get more than just surface level with somebody that I'm interested in like that. So as she's saying this to Samson, he's like, "So what you got? What you got planned for the rest of the day?" Changing the subject. That would have annoyed the crap out of me. When I tell you, we're talking about something and you just change the subject to something else, like random. And so she's like, "That's not what I want to talk about." Samson said, "Well, you got to have balance." Now, I don't know if this was all chopped and screwed up, because I don't know where you got to have balance and you got to give and give a little. And this is what Samson said: in order to give, you got to give a little. And it was just like, what? I was confused. I don't know if y'all was confused, but I was confused. So then in his confession, he says, Hurricane Sharice always has questions, and calling her Hurricane Sharice, and says he's already answered these questions. But clearly you're not being clear in what you're asking, because she still has questions. And why can't you just oblige and give her what she's asking for, instead of being so passive aggressive? Like, he was being so and they were both being petty to each other. He's Sharice the man, the woman, Samson the man. It was like, okay, let's go. It's time for you to go. Have a good day, Samson. Have a good day. Hope you enjoyed your facial. And I can't wait until the women have their say. So, Randall and Kayla go on a date. Randall says he is still confused. Oh, child. Randall is so energetically depleting. Like, he's still confused. I mean, and honestly, y'all, I feel like Randall is so confused because he don't like none of y'all. But he feel pressured to make a decision with one of these chicks, and he sees how invested Jamala is, and there's Kayla, and he knows Trinika, he probably gonna vote her off. He knows that in the back of his mind. So I'm just like, I think he's just waiting to see the survival of the fittest with these girls. But you really ain't into that person, because a man knows who he wants at some point. You know who you want. You just need to vocalize it. So Randall tells Kayla that the house was overwhelming. He asked Kayla, how she felt about the house, and she said she felt neglected and rejected. Thank you, Kayla. I'm glad you did not downplay how you were feeling. So she tells Randall not to look at her like that, and he asks, like, what? And Kayla never really says, but I feel like he was giving her the eyes, like, she's pitiful. And she didn't want to feel like, oh, you feel sorry for me because I felt that way. I want you to rectify it, not feel sorry for me. Like, I think that's the kind of eyes he was giving. He was giving her those eyes like, oh man, you felt like that? That's how he was looking. So Randall says, he knows she wants more answers that he just doesn't have at this particular second. So, Kayla doesn't really press him to make those, to solidify that. She just kind of like, it is what it is at this point. It just is what it is. So, she's just waiting for Randall to say, make a move. Like Wanda say on Love and Marriage Huntsville, shake a bone and get the hell on. She's just waiting for him to do, make the move. She's not going to make the move for Randall. So, and honestly, I don't feel like she should. Be a man, Randall. Do it yourself. So, Randall says he needs to meet with his counsel, and he's so confused at this point. Who is your counsel? Not the other guys. Who's your counsel? I'm trying to figure out who is the counsel, not the men, because hello, Mike like Kayla too. So why would you ask Mike his point of view? I don't know. So the men meet Tommy in the lounge, and Mike says he and Brandy bonded, and he doesn't mind doing it again with her, going, on a nice little trip with her. Sansa says, that Cherie speaks to her mind, and they're working through, some things together. They both have issues with, saying what's on their mind. And Randall says the first 20 hours in the house was crazy. He says insecurities got exposed. He knew Trinica would know the answers to the questions, and he says that he has the most common conversations with Trinica. So Swayze says, he likes Katie more now than when he did prior to their little argument about colorism or about not dating Black women. So Tommy asked for their bottom. So Randall says Charisse and Brandy. Mike Sampson says Kayla and Trinica. Mike says Trinica. Swayze says Kayla and Trinica. So Mike and Kayla go on their date after the men meet, and Kayla wants him to feel her frustration because she has been nice to everybody. Kayla, I still don't understand your point of staying here. But at this point, I feel like you just are here to prove a point and seeing if you can pull the strongest connections away from these guys. So Kayla asked, Mike how he thinks she felt in the house. And Mike says, if LJ was there, it might have changed the dynamics. And she's like, why would that change the dynamics? LJ wasn't one of my strongest connections. Like, come on, Mike. Mike is always saying something that is just problematic, in my opinion. Like, you always try to brush Kayla off. Like, I feel like he is trying to humble Kayla. I feel like that's what he tries to do. Like he makes Kayla work for it, and you don't make Brandy work for it. Like, I don't understand why. It's just like I feel like you feel like the need to humble Kayla, and I don't understand it, Mike. Like, why do you feel that need? Because Kayla has a stronger personality, like, or you feel like you have to break Kayla so you can bend her to be the type of person you want. Like, I don't get it, and it's unusual. But I think in the real world, Kayla would have been given up on Mike at this point. So Mike says he didn't know, and Kayla says she's sick of this. You should be sick at this point. You know how Kayla feel about you. She picked you for the game, bruh. Why don't you think that Kayla, is feeling you? And she felt good enough to pick you for a game. She felt like y'all had a stronger connection to talk about the game, to compete in a game situation with, Mike, come on now. So Trinica goes on her date with Randall, and she says she doesn't have a good feeling. And we know how Trinica went off the last time with Mike. So, she's not feeling this whole situation because she probably already knows the men had met at the lounge. So she knows what this date is about. They talk about the highlight of the getaway being their dates. And so Randall feels like, they got stronger after the date. So I think, as Randall is talking, she's kind of letting her guard down. She's probably thinking like, okay, well, maybe it's not what I'm expecting. So Trinica says, he is now opening up to her and she likes it. So Randall, which is odd, when you're about to send somebody home, now you feel comfortable enough to open up because she's going to be out of the equation. Like, Randall, stop being a punk. So back to Kayla and Mike. Mike tells Kayla that they met with Tommy today, and the men don't think she's being vulnerable enough. And Kayla says she isn't going to give her life story on day one, and I don't blame her. When Shakira gave her life story and she was the damsel in distress, y'all didn't like that. So I'm not going to give all of me up front. I may, give you in small doses, but I'm not going to give you all of me. And I feel like Kayla isn't being vulnerable because nobody is being vulnerable with her. Why would I give up all of my vulnerabilities and I'm number two? That It doesn't make sense to me. So Mike asked if she got closer to anyone at the house, and Kayla said, and Kayla just smiles and she's like, Mike, you are my strongest connection. And I don't know why he had to hear her say it. Maybe because Randall is still in the situation, but she says, Mike, you're my strongest connection. So Mike says he wasn't aware. Bull crap. So Kayla asked him why would she choose him, for the game? Just like I said, why would I choose you for the game? So his answer is, because Randall, you didn't want to, Randall had three connections, so maybe you don't want to be in that whole competition with three connections, at the dating game. And she was like, nah, Mike, I don't like to compete. You could tell Kayla likes to compete. And that's probably one of the reasons why she's sticking in it as long as she is, because she is competitive, and she's like, I think she in her whole salt and pepper mode. Y'all remember that song? And I might be dating myself. I'll take your man whenever I feel like it. Y'all remember that? Yeah. Look at Hot, Cool, and Vicious, and it's I'll Take Your Man by Salt and Pepper. They used to be my jam. So I feel like she is trying to get rid of some of these strong, either the strongest connection with Mike and Brandy, or she's trying to get rid of the Jamila Randall scenario. Either way, I feel like she'll do either way. So Mike admits to dropping the ball and checking on Kayla, as he should. So back to Randall and Trinika. Randall tells Trinika the fellas got together, and that's the infamous line. The men got together. So Trinika immediately gets annoyed, like, no, Randall, abort. So Trinika gets set off as soon as Randall says that, and Randall whole facial expression turns, because Trinika gets really, really annoyed, and she gets nasty. And she says she doesn't want to hear it. And he said, well, no one had anything bad to say. Trinika said, I don't want to hear it. And then she didn't even want him to touch it. So Randall is thrown off. Mike clearly didn't give the men the tea on how Trinika flipped out on him, because Randall seemed like he was completely shocked. And I could have told him Trinika is not going to take it well. So Randall is looking scared at the moment. So back to Mike and Kayla. Kayla tells Mike that she isn't going to force anyone to choose her. And she asks if Mike is considering her, or is he over there, meaning is he over with Brandy? And if he's really over there, just go ahead and tell me now. And Mike says, he can't say for sure until the process is right. So are you telling that to Brandy? Like, you can't choose Brandy at this moment, but you want to go on trips with her, just you and her. Like, Mike, playa. So Mike asked to hold her hand. So Trinika, so Kayla is looking like, here we go. So back to Randall and Trinika. Randall is still got the shock face on his, and he has no words. So he's like shocked, and Trinika said, I have no words. I am disappointed. And Randall was like, well, why? Why are you disappointed? And Trinika says, I have my reasons. Like, Trinika, did you have an alliance with someone that no one else knew about, that they were supposed to keep you in there? But who are you going to stay with? Because Randall was not going to choose you. That was your only connection left. So what do you have? Why would they have kept you there? To do what? I don't understand it. So Trinika gives to him the benediction, basically. You stay, blessed and whatnot. And Randall feels, and she feels like Randall should have fought for her. But I'm like, for what? His relationship with Kayla is a lot stronger than his relationship with you. Even though you rubbed his feet and gazed in his eyes, it wasn't enough to take Kayla off the pedestal. So I don't get it. Well, at least on the second place pedestal. So you didn't move from your third place spot. So boo, you got to go. So back to Mike and Kayla. So Mike tells Kayla she's ready to love. So Kayla is relieved. She said she feels like she's not in the process. As they're leaving the restaurant, Kayla is saying, in her little confessional, she says she feels like she's not in the process for Mike or Randall anymore. She's basically out. And I hate that you feel like that, Kayla, but I feel like that is the same. I don't know what has to happen for you to get to that point. I know the next day is, with family. So unless you make a great impression on my family or Randall's family, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to solidify either one of those connections. But I mean, stranger things have happened already to love. So again, that's it. We have next week is the family dates. So we'll see how that goes. What would you rate this episode? I would rate it probably I would say about a 7.5. About a 7.5, maybe an 8. It's teetering on an 8. 7.5. Let's go with 7.5. So comment down below. Tell me what you would rate this episode. And did you enjoy this episode? Do you feel like Kayla has a chance? Let me know. Share some of your thoughts. I would love to hear them. So again, if you are new to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe and join my tribe. Hit the notification bell for any uploads. Hit the like button if you made it this far and you love the content. Hit that like button. I so appreciate this. It helps my channel and it helps me to get monetized so I can do more for my channel. There's a lot of ideas I have, but I need your support. And I definitely appreciate my current subscribers. I thank you for trusting me and believing in me. I so appreciate you. So until the next time, we will talk about Married to Medicine next. So look forward to that. Peace.